All right, so let's keep trucking. Let's do the d orbital. So the d orbital looks like a double dumbbell. So if I took two pencils together, find another pencil. If I took two pencils together and I put them crossed like this would be my d orbital, and I could hold it all sorts of different ways in the orientation space, okay? So that's my d orbital. So you call it, most people will call it like a double dumbbell kind of shape, something like that. All right, so let's talk about the quantum numbers for this. What could be my n values for the d? So remember the d would be the rho minus 1. So we said if this is a 4, this would be a 3. 5, this would be a 4d. 6, 5d, 7, 6. So my d ranges only from a 3d all the way to a 6d. So my d orbital is only 3, 2, 6. All right, let's talk about the L. The L always has to be what for a d orbital? 2, always, okay? What about my ML? So remember, ML is negative L to positive L. So if my L is 2, my ML is negative 2, negative 1, 0, positive 1, positive 2. How many different MLs did I write? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. How many pictures do I have? I have 5. Now you do not have to memorize these pictures. You don't have to remember that one of them is a dyz, one of them is a dxz, one of them is a dx squared y2. Like, you don't need to know those. You just need to know that there's 5 different pictures and that they kind of look like a double dumbbell, and one of them here looks like the p orbital with the donut. So a single dumbbell with like a donut. You don't have to know these. If you take more chemistry, if you go to inorganic chemistry here, or if you go on and be a chem major in college, you'll have to know these, draw these, and be able to calculate it and all that. All you need to know is that a d orbital has 5 different orientations or pictures. All right, so let's talk about it again. How many electrons can an orbital have? Every orbital can only have 2 electrons. How many d orbitals do I have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have 5 mLs. So if I have 5 mLs, I've got 5 different d orbitals. So 5 different d orbitals. If every orbital can have 2 electrons, 5 times 2 means I can have 10. I can have max 10 d electrons. So let's look at this. If I can have max 10 d electrons, how many columns? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, 10 electrons. This is going to be helpful when we start writing our electron configurations later on. Okay. Next one. Let's talk about our last orbital, our f orbital. So what would the n be for an f orbital? We can talk about the picture first, sorry. So the picture here would be if I had 2 of these d orbitals together, and it just kind of looks a little crazy. And so these down here are usually called flowers. These are called flowers. And these are usually called like a P with a double donut or something. I'm not going to have you draw the F's. I'm not going to have you have to name the F's or anything like that. F's to get a little crazy. All right? So let's say, what would the n be for an f orbital? So here's my f block, and we said it's the rho minus 2. So 58 goes right here. The rho is 6. Then this is a 4f. If he goes here, it's a 7, it's a 5. So it's a 4 and a 5. So my options for the f orbital are only 4 or 5. What is the L? L is always a 3. S, P, D, F, 0, 1, 2, and 3. Okay? So it's got to be a 3. What would be my ML? So my ML is negative 3, negative 2, negative 1, 0. Oop, doesn't want me to write there. Positive 1, positive 2, positive 3. So let's look at how many MLs I wrote. I wrote negative 3, negative 2, negative 1, 0, Positive 1, positive 2, positive 3. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. How many pictures? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So there are 7 different F orbitals. Okay? 7 different F orbitals. So let's talk about this. How many electrons can an orbital have? I'm going to ask it over and over again because it's really important. That's why we put a star by it. Every orbital can only have 2 electrons. How many different F orbitals do I have? 7. 7 times 2 is 14. So you can have a max of 14 F electrons. Let's check it. Here's my F block. How many columns? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So the columns tell me how many total electrons are in that type of orbital. So there's 2s, 6p, 10d, 14 total of the F electrons. All right, so now we've talked about all of my orbitals. We talked about s, we talked about p, we talked about d, and we talked about f. So now let's kind of just put it all together, and now we're going to start to see the beginning of our address. So now we know more about the L, and how, if I know the exact L, how does that relate to the N and the ML and all that? Now let's put all our quantum numbers together and start writing a piece of our address.